Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Laura Sinclair, and I'm going to be covering today's webinar on part 1 of the detailing stairs in SDS2. I've been with the company around 8 years, and I started off in the support department for over 5 years, and now I'm in the marketing department helping creating video content to get out to you guys. If you have any questions during this webinar, please type them during the webinar, and I'll cover them at the end with the live Q&A. Today we're going to cover common types of stairs and stringers you might encounter in the job. So if you can see over on the right we have a ship's ladder. I'm going to be creating my own tread and a checkered plate for this one, and then over on the left side I have a switchback stair. I can have 2 different types of stringers, which you'll see on my near side and far side, or I can even mix the materials, maybe a stringer and a plate, a channel and a plate. I'll be adding in the Stair with the Quick Add tool, and it's going to be easy input for my plate treads. The next one I'm going to cover is Stair with returns. Over on the left side you can see that I have a tube stringer, and I actually have my own stair treads as well that I created for some concrete buyout treads. I also am going to add that one in a plan view for the Quick Add stair. And then over the right, I have a couple different ones with the stairs with the landing in the middle. The one I'm going to be showing is the one at the bottom with the grading tread, but you could do maybe a continuous with the plate stringer as well up on the top. We're also going to be covering the different visuals that you can have. It's a little hard to see right here, but you can see the horizontal nosing to nosing dimension, vertical nosing to nosing dimension, the number of risers, the riser height, and the tread are going to start populating automatically as I start moving my cursor in the model. We can also now show the member line in the model for the stair, and I'll show that you can turn this off. And then we'll also do the overlay PDF, so I'll be showing this a lot, so it's going to be for easy input on my stairs. Like I said, we're going to do a drawing overlay over on the left side here. To do a stair calculation to determine my work line, typically it's going to be when you get a drawing, the nosing to nosing vertical, and it's going to be to that bottom tread. So I just need to add in another tread to get to my floor work line to add in my stair. And then also we have the auto number of risers, so it automatically calculate the number of risers, but you can always override that. We will have stair setup and different controls that you have, so this can be a very powerful tool. Over on the right side is my Stair Quick Add. This is all the options that you can have in there for automatically when I go to add in my tool for the Stair Quick Add. There's the stringer length and the bill of material. If I always want that to be pre-cut or post-cut, I can have that set up here so I don't have to go in and change that every time. Maybe in my tread schedule I always have them to be plates for my treads. I can always have it set up here, and so then when I go to add in my stairs, which I'll get to in a little bit, I don't have to adjust that every single time. Over on the left side is our stair tread definition schedule. You can create your own different treads here, or you can modify existing treads, maybe my pan profile. I want my nosing depth to be 1 inch instead of 1.5. I can create that here instead of modifying that in my member edit screen. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and start the process here. So what I first want to do is overlay a PDF. So what I can do here is in my drawing conversion, you can bring in a 2D drawing or a PDF if you want. And I'll just browse to my desktop and ship stair. So it came in here. And you can see this in Drawing Editor too. You can modify those if you need to modify something. It will be under your reference drawings. So I'll go ahead and open up my ship ladder. Okay, now I can go ahead and add in, I have a couple already added in here, but I'm going to do my ship stair. And as you can bring this in, I'll just plop it here for now. So as you can see that I probably need to scale this. So I can scale in my single axis. I know this dimension, so go from here to this point. It's measuring it that. I'll put in 6 for my what I actually want it to be. And another thing is I'm going to actually change my reference location, because if I were to hit move here you can see where my reference location is down here. So I want to actually set that reference point. No, I don't want it to be where it's at right now. And maybe I want it to be just in this corner. Okay, now I can go ahead and move this to where I want it to be. And I actually want it to be sitting up on this concrete. So since I don't have this, let's just type in 3, my Z. There we go. And one more thing, since I'm here, I'll just offset that 3 inches now. We talked about I'm going to need to define my work line. So I have the dimension right here is 16 risers at 9 7/8, and then it'll have that dimension, but it's only going from here. It's not going down to the floor. So what I'm going to need to do is actually add in another riser. So to get that work line, I'm actually going to go ahead and just get that construction line. Bear with me really quick. Construction line, and then I know I want to come here. It's at 1 inch for my nosing. So that's going to be my work line. Now I do see that I have my stair stringers, that's fine. And then I also have my plate. So it's going to be a checkered plate, 5/16 by 10 inches by 24 inches. So I can come in to my stair tread definition schedule. And I'm going to create my own tread. So here's all the different treads that you have in here. We have a pan, grading, plate, continuous, so you can see the plates are different. We have a continuous plate. I already created a concrete tread, which I'll be using later for the concrete buyout. So this one, I'm going to create it as a plate. I'll just call this ship stair. My plate thickness, I saw was going to be 5/16. So then I do want it to be a checkered plate. I want my tread width to be 6 5/8, which I saw from the drawing up above. And I want my depth to be, let's just say 2. For right now, I'm not going to have any tread supports. And actually, sorry, I do want a pattern setback, so I want it to set back from that nosing. 1/16 of an inch, since I want the checkered plate. Okay, so now that I have that in there, I can go ahead and add in my stair. So I just did member add. I did F2 on my keyboard, but you can also do over here. There's also stair add. Okay, so I'm going to do, since I want that for my nosing line, and as you can see, as I start moving up, what I talked about, it's going to automatically start calculating, depending on where I'm going, that nosing to nosing dimension. And I want it to be right there. Okay, so let's start off in the beginning. I have my scale base, so that's going to be what it says for the drawing. My general tread, so I saw that I need my treads to actually be C 8 by 11.5. And automatically it's going to change this, or I can override that and have mixed channels. I have my surface finish, the steel grade that I want it to be. We have our pre-cut or post-cut. So the pre-cut's going to be before everything is cut, if that's how I want it to show up in the bill of material later on, or post-cut after all of the copes and all of the other cuts are done. Shop assembled, we'll get to that a little bit later. Right now everything is going to be shop assembled, so it's going to be under one detail. If I didn't have that, then I could also attach my supports to a tread, which I'll get to. I can add my CNC marks to the stringer. on the nosing or the support. For this one, I'm going to say the nosing. The CNC options are going to be in my stair edit screen. They're not going to be in another CNC setup option. I want my center offset dimension. So where I'm picking right now in my view, I don't want that to go in or out of the screen. So I just want it exactly on the point that I'm picking. So it's going to be centered on the points that I'm picking in the elevation view. My stringer nosing dimension was going to be 1. I'll get to these a little bit later, the bottom riser setback. So my bottom riser can extend down if I want it to. And my bottom riser return length can go underneath the stairs or it could go out, which I'll go to later on. And then we also have our advanced bill of material. For this one, I want my treads to be my ship stair. I want the width of the tread to be 2 feet, since it said by 24. I'll get to this a little bit later. Right now everything is linked, so if I switch something in my setup, I can process this stair and automatically those setup changes are going to affect this stair. Otherwise, I can change something on this, which I'll get to in a second, and then it will not affect, any setup option will not affect this specific stair. My number of risers, so it said 16, but since I need to go to the floor, I'm going to go ahead and put 17 in there. This is just a read only, so it has my horizontal, my vertical, my riser dimension, and my tread dimension. So now we have our left end settings. So the left end setting will be my first point, I guess, that I picked for this example. My end elevation, and then my right end settings are going to be the top end. So this is going to be my lower end and my top end for this specific situation. I'm going to go ahead and bolt to floor and put this as 6. And I want to have that for my near side and my far side. So I'm just going to copy this and paste it. And then I'll just move over here and I want this to have a return and I want it to be 4 to support the work point. So I'll copy that and paste it. I'm not going to worry about my connections right now. I'll get back to the connections a little bit later on. Alright, so as you can see, on my nosing, it has those little X's for all of my CNC marks because I've said to put it on the nosing line. Let's go ahead and turn this off. And you can see now I have my ship stair in there. Now when I talked about the like the linked, so maybe I actually do want a little flat bar in here. So if I come up to my general tread settings, everything you can see is linked. Now I can hit this file cabinet and it's going to bring up all of the settings that were in my stair tread definition schedule. But if I change something in here, it's not going to affect the stair tread definition schedule. It will only affect this specific stair. So in this one, I'm actually going to have a single support and I'm going to make this actually just a flat bar. So you could have an angle in here, but if I want it to be a flat bar, and I want my length, maybe I'll just have this be 4.5 inches, and my setback for my nosing, I just want it to be 1. Don't have to worry about this since there's no holes in there. So once I hit this, you see that now it is no longer linked. So therefore, if I change something on my ship stair in that stair tread definition schedule in the setup, it's not going to affect anything in this actual member edit screen. And even if I was in here, I could hit save and create, maybe I want this to be ship stair. Now you can have endless ones. So in the stair tread definition schedule, you can have 16 treads, but really you could have an infinite number of stair tread, or like, yeah, stair treads if you wanted to. Okay. So now you can see I have a little flat bar in there. So it's all on preference what you want, if you want supports or not, but I just threw those in there. All right, so my next one is I'm going to add in the switchback stair. So I'm going to go to a different one, my stairs. I'll just go ahead and turn this off or hide members. And I already have a stair drawing in here. So this was actually a DWG, not a PDF, but so you can import in all sorts of types of 2D drawing overlays. Okay, so now that I have this one in here, I'm going to go ahead and go into my Stair Quick Add. So if I come into plugin options and command, so it's job options, plugin options, command, there's a Stair Quick Add tool. If I come in here, I mentioned this in the first slide, but you can go ahead and set this up ahead of time, so it's going to actually save you a lot of time if you do a lot of stairs the same way. All right, so let's go ahead and I have the mixture here, and I want this to actually just be a plate profile. Now down at the bottom, I'm going to go ahead and I'll go over this a little bit when I actually add in this, but I want this to be a bolt to floor. I want that to be a bolt to floor. And on my top flight, I want my support to work point to actually be a return of 4 feet instead of 1 foot. That's just going to help me. Typically, I have a return that's going to be 4 feet. And then you can also change your connection type here too. And now when I go to hit my Stair Quick Add tool, you pick your first points. So I'm doing it along the work line. And now that window pops up. So I have my near side and my far side offset. So my near side offset's just going to be along the lines that I'm picking. My far side offset, maybe I want this to be 6 feet away. But in this case, I'm going to say that I just want it 4 feet away. So it's 4 feet into the screen. That's the far side offset. I can have my first flight be on my near side or far side. I do want it to be near side. I can have my tread schedules here. As you can see, you have all the different tread schedules that you can pick from. Your interior and exterior, so I do want those to be 2 different sizes. My tread width. Okay, so here is my low end setting and my high end setting. So my first flight, my low end setting, so down at the bottom, it's going to be bolt to floor. I do want that. Now my intermediate, so the lower end of my intermediate, so let me move this a little bit. So that would be this end of my intermediate stair. I do want that to be a bolt to floor and a return of 4 feet. That's fine. So that's the exterior is going to extend out. My intermediate for the high end is also going to be a return of 6 with a return of 4. So it's only going to return 6 inches on the interior. And I do want it to extend 4 feet out on the exterior. And I'll get to this stuff a little bit later. And then my top flight here, the top of it, you do clearly want it to be a return of 4 feet like I stated. Just for this case, I guess. Alright, so now I can just continue and you see that it's picking up those points again as I move up. Alright, and then I can go ahead and turn the stair off. So you can see, so this did a bolt to floor. It returned 4 feet with a return of, I think it was 3. And then this one was 4 with bolt to floor. And the same thing happened all the way up. We'll get to the connections later on. Don't worry about those. And then I had the return of 4 feet. So if I turn this to stick, you'll see now we do have where it now is like the whole member line of the stair, the outline, I guess I should say. You can turn that off if you don't want to see that. There's a stair outline, so I can turn that off, and it's just that member line like we're used to. But in this case, I'll just go ahead and leave it on. Okay, so we had the plate profile here, but in this case, I'm just going to go ahead and modify this bottom one just to show some more settings. So in my general settings, let's go ahead and I'm going to uncheck shop assembled. I'm going to attach my supports to the tread. And I'm going to change my CNC marks for my support. I can't change anything with this bottom riser setback right now since it's set to a plate, But if I come in here and change this to a pan profile, now I can go ahead and put a bottom riser setback. So I actually want that to extend down 6 inches. And in this case, let's go ahead and say my bottom riser return length will be out 3. I do want an ABM on this one. Go ahead and just say auto. I want that to extend out 3 feet because maybe I want some concrete there. Now when I go back to my general tread, I do want this just to be a single support. So I'm going to come down here to single. It's going to unlink this. And there we go. So I have the pan profile and it has a 1 there. So now if I drop this down, you'll see a pan profile. It's just temporary, but it will be in this member edit screen. So then I can come down to my stair tread settings. I do want my length of material to be 8 inches, but one thing I do want to, and I'll add my bolts to the tread. One thing I do want to change is I actually want both of these to be 12 for this example. Okay, now I can come down to my left end settings. So my left end elevation, I want, instead of a bolt to floor, I'm going to do a return down. So there's a whole bunch of different options for my end condition. I can have no return. I can return, which I've been using quite often. Bolt to floor, usually you use for the bottom. And I can add a top cap in there, but for this one, I'm just going to have it return down, maybe 6 inches. I'll go ahead and just copy that. So now you can see that I have a pan. I only have single, and I have this where it comes down 6 inches and then it returns out 3 feet. I also have a return down here that went down 6 inches. You also see, since I edit these or click on them, now they are all broken out because they're all miscellaneous members since I have it unchecked from shop assembled. You can easily edit that again and make it shop assembled. Now you'll see that if you hover over these, it will say member and it will say miscellaneous. And one of the stringers, if you highlight over one of the stringers or hover over it, it will say the S for the stair. So if I edit one of those stringers, it will bring up that stair edit. So it's not all broken apart or anything. And I can come in here and my stringer and I could just say shop assembled again. Now if I edit one of these, or surface to it, you'll see now that they are attached, or my CNC marks are to my supports. And I just have one and it's only 8 inches for length. Alright, so I have that done. Now let's go ahead and move on to one that would have a landing. Go ahead and remove this. Okay, so I already have a 2D overlay for this, the stair landing. And I already know where my nosing lines need to be, so I'm just going to go ahead and add these in really quick to save a little bit of time. And now I can go ahead and do my Stair Quick Add. Do intersection construction line for these. Now even though I'm going in a straight line, that's okay because it's still going to go ahead and put this in. So I don't have to worry about this near side and far side. It's all going to come in on my near side. I do want this to be a bolted grating, and I see that both of these stringers are the same. My first flight for my low end, so that's going to be the bolt to floor, I do want that to be 3 inches. But my intermediate flight for my left end, which would be, or sorry, for my low end, would be this one, and I do want both of those to be 2 feet. For my high end, I also want those to be 2 feet from that drawing. And then the top flight can be 4 feet on either end. Now, if I want to save this for a later time, these are called forms. So I can hit save at the very bottom. You'll want to hit save at the bottom because that's going to save for everything. If I hit save up here, it's only going to save my general settings. If I only hit here, it's only going to save for my first flight, my intermediate flight, and so forth. So I'm going to hit save for here, and I'll put this grading with landing. So I could use that later on if I have identical stairs later on. Go ahead and add in my second one, and I'll turn this off. And now you can see my stair. Don't worry about the connections. Like I said, we'll go back and change these. I probably would just have this be a welded, so I'll just go ahead and turn these to plain end. On my left end, I'll turn to plain end. Now, one thing I will say is this had copes. I could fill out the cope information by going into my right end settings and going to my near side and the return. And you can do a whole bunch of information here, my cope depth top, my cope length top. To save a little bit of time, I have created a form. So I saved that ahead of time. I can just load that and I just called this return. But it already fills that information out. So then I can copy this, go to my far side stringer and paste it, and it's going to be the same information. So now you can see it's filled out. We did talk a little bit about unlinking the treads. One thing I am going to show here is we showed just the intermediate tread schedule where I can link it and unlink it. So my tread schedule for my top, I can use this intermediate, which means I would be using my grading profile. Otherwise, I can come in here and maybe say I want 9 bars on my top. And it's going to put this with a 1 by it. You can only mix if they are the same profile type. So if I have a whole bunch of different grading profiles, I can use them here. But I can't use like a pan, I can't use like a plate. I can't mix those. So if I did have a whole bunch of different grading profiles, I could already have those set up and change those for my top and my bottom. So maybe my bottom, I'm just going to come in here and just say, just to show you. So now that's also unlinked. If I did change something in my setup, it would apply to the intermediate ones, but it wouldn't apply to my top or bottom. So now you can see this one's shorter and this one's a little wider. Typically, you probably wouldn't do that, but just to show you, for example. Another thing is if I edit both of these, even though that they have mixed, this one's the same, but this one, this mark right here, means that I'm multi-editing something and they're not matching up. One thing I do want to change though is maybe I want those to be galvanized. So I can edit multiple things, I just don't have to change everything. They don't have to be identical to edit them. I can come here and I can do component add. So what I typically like to do is I like to pre-select the piece of steel that I'm wanting to add this component to. Otherwise, if I do component add here, a whole list is going to show up. But if I come here and then do component add, it only shows the components that I can add to that specific piece of steel. What I want to add here is a riser closure plate. And here I'll just add a closure plate. I'll omit my top riser. I don't really want to change anything else. Here it automatically adds this in. I can edit that again and change that to something else. Maybe I want this to be, maybe I don't want to omit the top riser. Whatever you want to do. Step back from the nosing. Maybe I want that to be 1 inch. I can change that. If I edit my stair, it now will be part of the stair too. The riser closure plate will be in there. I can add in a closure plate here too, just to show the differences. Maybe I want to add the toe plate instead. And I don't know, distance above the tread, let's just make that 3 inches. So you can do that. I can then come in here. Maybe I want to omit my bottom toe plate. Don't want a toe plate down there. And then the last thing that I'm going to do is actually add in a plan view. Let's just go to 0. And I'm going to come over here and I'm going to add in a stair in my plan view. So I can do quick add as well. I know where I want to pick these points. As I drag that, you can see that it says my nosing to nosing 0. That's fine. I'm just showing an example. Saying that my tread and my riser, maybe I want this to be my concrete treads. Maybe I'm going to do a buyout for that. My stringer section, HSS 12 by 2 by. Calculate my elevation and use my previous elevation. I can uncheck that if I want, but in this case, I'm just going to leave that. My first point elevation, so it was calculating it, it was at 0. My second one, maybe I want that to be 8'2" instead for my second point. So my higher point up here, I do want that to be the same. And now I can go ahead and add in my second one, and that's fine. So once I add that in, you'll see that I have concrete treads, or they're like my buyout. And then I have a tube. Now, we talked about the forms a little bit, so just to save some time, I already created a form. If I come in on my right end settings for my near side, I can go ahead and load a form just for that one. Otherwise, I can load a form for the entire thing. So my bottom, so you see it automatically filled out. And let's do for my top one as well. So just to save some time. And I'll show you in my near side, it filled out this information, and my far side, it was a little bit different. So I put a cap plate on that, I extended it. I'll get to this a little bit later, but I just put this to some wood, for example. That finishes up today's webinar on different types of stairs that you might see in a job, defining the stair work points, some setup options, modifying some stairs. I'm going to give you a few moments to type in your questions and then we'll do a Q&A. Join us next month. We'll be covering part 2 of the stair webinar where we're going to be covering different connections, revisions, and some of the stair details and erection views. Give me one moment and we'll start some questions. So how did I insert the drawing in the model? So how I inserted it was I went to drawing conversion. And if you go to drawing conversion, then you can add as a reference drawing. And here I just browsed for you can have it do a DWG, a DGN, I believe. Or in this case, I did the PDF file. Then once you're in there, you can either edit this inside of, add this inside of modeling or even in your drawing editor. Now you can come into reference drawings and here's my ship stair. And if I wanted to change something in here and maybe say, I can edit this of what I wanted to say and then it will populate inside of modeling. Okay, so another was about the returns. Let me go up to my stair. So somebody asked, can you have, oh, let me find it. It just disappeared really quick. So up at the top of the stair, they asked, can you do this as a cap? So you can. I'll go to my right end settings. So right now I have it a return. They said, can you do a top cap instead? And there is a top cap option. Let me just, I'll just change it for this one. So you can, I might not have done that. Oops. So you have the top cap. I don't think I said that correctly, but yeah, you can have that be a top cap option. Can you create custom treads? Yeah, so what I did in here was I went to my fabricator options and there's stair tread definition schedule, and this is where you create your treads. So, and you can create schedule 7, you can create the type of tread that you want it to be. Maybe I want it to be a plate. There's a whole bunch of different options in here for the shape of the plate. and then you can create your plate thickness and so forth. So that is where you would create your treads. Um, can you bolt? Okay, so another question was, can you bolt the angles to the pan? Let me go in here. So in my tread support, you can add bolts to the tread support. Um, and then in your general tread, oops, sorry, in here, you can do, if it's not shop assembled, you can attach the supports to your tread. So they were asking, can you attach the supports to the pan? So if it's not shop assembled, you can attach the supports to the tread. Can you elaborate a little bit about a black box icon on the right side of my screen? I don't see anything. So if you could elaborate on that, I'll try to figure that out. Can you detail a stair that's freestanding? Yeah, so you can not connected to anything. So yeah, I can just go ahead. I mean, this is connected, but you can easily just do show detail. I'm going to go over details more in the next webinar. So yeah, you can easily detail them if they're not attached to anything as well. I'm going to create connections more. Somebody was asking about, can I show some examples of connections? I will go ahead and show that more in the part 2 when we talk about connections and revisions. So I will go ahead and do that later on. Sorry, just going over a few more. I'm trying to find this icon that you're talking about. Oh, this is the cost estimator tool, if that's what you're asking, the black icon with the green circle. Yeah, so that's the cost estimator tool. I believe that's going to be in your toolbox eventually when we have that. So you can create that, select your items, and then run a quick cost estimation. Sorry, I was not catching on to that. Okay. Can you create your own plate layout and then insert it into the treads? Currently, the only way to create your treads is in the stair tread definition schedule. You could, I'm guessing, you could just go ahead and create like your stringers and then maybe create your plate profile with, you could do just like the plate layout, maybe save it as an assembly and then delete the old treads and put in these treads that you're looking for. Um, can you add, oh shoot, I just lost it. Sorry. Can you add cold form Z for that? Sorry. Oh, sorry. Sorry, Roberto is saying that you can add a cold form Z for the plate profile. Let me see. Oh, okay. So in your material file editor, Roberto is helping me out here. So in your material file editor, you can create your own profiles. I don't think I have anything in here. Oh, popped up over on my other screen. I have cold form Z, and you can lay out shapes here. And then you can, I'm guessing you add it as your, so you'll probably just add it as a member, and then you could copy that member, or I guess save it as an assembly or copy material as well to put that in as your specific tread. Thank you, Roberto. All right, I'm just gonna grab a few more of these questions. I'm not sure what you mean by what configuration am I using. If you could elaborate a little bit more. Yes, the webinar is going to be on YouTube today, so I will make sure to put it on there, and I will also make sure to put the webinar on the archived webinars page. So what he is talking about, they're just seeing if we are going to put this on our webinar. So we do have in our resources here, we have upcoming webinars. So there's a whole bunch of upcoming webinars. I'll make sure to take this one off. And we also have recorded webinars. So the recorded webinars, I'll make sure to put that on there, but every single recorded webinar that we have, we will put it on our website as well. And I'm just going through a couple more. And then if you have any more questions, make sure to send them to support. It's support@sds2.com. Just looking for a couple more. When I've used the Stair Quick Add in the past, it doesn't add the support channel between the stringers at the beginning of the return or the end of the return. Support stringers. Not sure. So did you not get the return? You just want to make sure that you have the correct distance in for your returns, if I'm reading that correctly. Oh, I'm still in the estimating. All right. Yes. Can you put in plate for your stringers? I think, oh, I had that one in my other example. Yes, you can put in a plate for your stringers. So if I edit this, I can go ahead and come in my plate stringers, and I can type in a plate. I'm not really, I don't know really for anything right now, but 10 by, I don't know, 2. I don't know. So you can add in a plate here. Even though it's not in your material file, you can go ahead and override that and put in a plate for your plate stringers. Whoa. Can you cope the plate stringers? Yes, you can cope the plate stringer. So you'll just put in plate stringer for your near side material. I don't know. Yeah. You'll put in your plate for the near side, and then you can go ahead and put in your left end and right end, your near side and far side. You can cope that out as well. questions. Sorry, still getting to them. Um, Sorry, just getting off the questions here. Will be on the website. Yes. Can you create your own plate layout? Okay, we just answered that one. Just knocking off a couple play more here. Freestanding, yes. Somebody is in SDS2 2018 and they're asking if the same properties as SDS2 2020. Yes, and most of them are going to be the same. The only difference would probably be the stair outline. So you will not see the stair outline in SDS2 2018, I believe. I could be wrong. I can open that back up and see, but I know it was added in SDS2 2020. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up. If you have any more questions, go ahead and send them to support, or there will be a also there's going to be another email that goes out tomorrow about questions. If you have any questions, go ahead and you can send them to me too. I have some more that are asking about connections. We'll get to connections in next month when I go through part 2 of the webinar. I'll be discussing connections. Will the new member lines of the stairs show up on the erection drawings? Yeah, so I will cover that in the next webinar as well. And so that is about wrapping it up. Thank you very much, everyone. I will make sure to get the webinar out on YouTube, and also I will start working on, or continue working on, I should say, part 2 of the webinar for next month. So if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to contact support, or you can also send them to me later on as well. Thanks, everyone.